Okay, now unlike previous talks, this one, although it is on the subject of Clublog, is only on one feature, and that is for a very specific reason. We've realised that the idea of doing online QSLing has captured a whole new sphere of QSLers who would like to get their DX cards more easily. And rather than tell you all about other things in Clublog, this time I only want to speak about this one feature. So, first of all, there's a very important word in the title of the slide, online DX QSLing. When I see a card like K5D, that to me emotes all sorts of interesting things. First of all, the remarkable achievement of actually getting on that island with a license. And then secondly, the delight at having worked it, having thought that it would never come on the air. And to me, this is a DX QSL. Now, to someone else, a DX QSL might be their first contact outside the UK, or it might be that it's the first time they make contact with a ZL on a low band. Whatever it is, it's personal. This is not about removing these cards from circulation. I'm not interested in talking to you today about the idea of getting awards digitally and quickly without any paperwork, because that is just a separate discussion, and QSL cards are not necessarily the only way that awards work. So I'm going to assume that you do want this card and that you'd be interested in getting it easily. Okay, here's the problem. When someone sends me a K5D card, I'm pretty happy about that. But when I'm K5D and I receive 150,000 of these, I'm not so interested. A card of this kind, which of course is necessary if you send it in the post, is just swamping QSL managers with unnecessary paperwork. So they don't have the space, they don't have the time to read the nice messages, and in fact, just getting that card to them incurs certain costs that can't be avoided. And it might be postage, but it might also be the load that you're putting on the bureau by sending that card to them. This is a quick recap how it works. This is a traditional DX QSL route. First of all, you make the QSOs and you log them accurately, and that's almost certainly going to be done on a computer. You realise you need the slot, perhaps with the help of Clublog or something else, and so you print out a label or you write on a QSL card of yours, and you either batch it up and send it through to the bureau, or you look up on something like QRZ.com where to send it, put in an envelope. In that envelope you need a return envelope with your address correctly written for the country where it will be sent from eventually. You need to put the money to pay for that, because you don't have the stamps that they need. And if you, in the case of something like K5D, you might well feel the need to cover some of their costs, so you want to donate as well. So you post all of this package off, which is going to cost about £1.20 or so, depending on where it's going, plus the materials, so maybe £2. And you hope your card arrives, and then you wait. And you may have to wait a long time before you dare to go and ask, did you actually get my card? And in the case of the bureau cards, you need to wait a lot longer than you think before you start asking that question. So this is the traditional route. Outbound. Okay, what about inbound? So the QSL manager receives your card, and it's a DX QSO, so he receives a lot of cards. Cards, envelopes, and cash. Huge amounts of all three of those things. And because this is a QSL for a rare one, let's say, it does all need to be verified, so each card has to be held up and looked at, physically looked at, and compared to the computer log. And once they're through that quality check, which is the mark of a good QSL manager, then the labels need printing, and they need sticking to the cards, and the cards need to go back in their return envelopes, the correct envelopes of course, and the correct stamps need putting on them. And then you've got thousands of $1 bills, and you haven't even started to do the bureau cards yet. So I see there's an enormous asymmetry here. It maybe took me 5 minutes to request my card, but the QSL manager has to do that 100,000 times. The fact is that he doesn't need your card. I'm not going to use the word want, but I'm just going to assume that he doesn't want it either. And the reason is that it's not necessary. His job is to get you your card back and for you to be happy that you've got your confirmation and a beautiful card to look at. But along the way, if you do it this traditional way, you're creating waste because you've sent your card, which is beautiful and handwritten, and then it goes in the bin. You're wasting your time writing it out and his time dealing with reading it, because it's entirely manual all the way through. Some of the cards go missing because it's well known what a QSL card looks like in the mail. In certain countries, they just disappear into the post for the dollars. Something like K5D, you might feel inclined to send quite a lot of money if you feel really happy with what they did, but you wouldn't dream of sending large denominations in the post, so they miss out. And then, of course, the problem I alluded to, if you're not in the USA, $1 bills are doubly difficult to deal with, because you go to the post office and they look at you in dismay and send you away. You know, come back some other time, or go to the bank, this isn't our problem. And last of all, and it is a responsibility we all have to share here, we're transporting pieces of carbon around the world when we didn't have to. We're putting them in planes, airmail, and basically they get there just to be destroyed. So I think that it's obvious that this is not ideal. OQRS stands for Online QSL Requests. We picked up that acronym along the way from other people who have done this before Clublog. It's nothing to do with sending slowly, which I think is ironic. So you don't fill in a card, you don't buy stamps, you don't buy envelope, you don't provide a return envelope, you don't send dollar bills, and you don't wait for half of the postage. You don't wait for your card to arrive at their end. But you do send money for the cost of sending a card back to you and any donation that you're going to make. And you do get a paper card back. In other words, the point I made right at the start, this isn't about getting a digital confirmation, you will get a card. Now, you may be familiar with this chart, which you see in Clublog if you've gone on the Expedition log search tools. And the button of interest here is the one right at the end, the Request QSL button. So in Clublog, this is how it works. I hope this is a very cut down version of events. We've got the DX at the top left, who uploads his QSOs to Clublog and clicks that button that I just showed you, makes a payment to PayPal, and then two things go across to the QSL manager. And I've picked Nigel here. He's dealing with E6GG cards, and he's very kindly given me access to E6GG's account for today's talk, so I'll be showing you exactly what it looks like from his point of view. But he gets my request pre-vetted, and he gets my money. He then goes into the Clublog system and prints out the labels, two labels, one for the envelope, one for the QSL card, and posts them. Now, the whole point is that really there's just one direction of travel here, and all the electronic bit is 100% reliable. Nothing goes missing in the mail, and I haven't actually spent any money on unnecessary materials, so we're all happy. So I'll step through this bit. I'm going to do this bit with screenshots because I suspect that you've all actually done this, and that's why you're here. But if you haven't, then I'll still walk through what's going on. Step one, search the DX log. So you go to Clublog, you look for the expedition, even if it's not an expedition, if they've got the OQRS, it will look like this. And you type your call sign in, green ticks, good news, request QSL. The next thing you see is the list of your QSLs with the dates and times already filled in. And this is possible because you've uploaded your log, they've uploaded their log, and they match. And for match, I mean plus or minus 15 minutes. If anything didn't match, it will not be filled in. You can only fill it in if it's in the DX log. And at that point, you've got to go and ask yourself, well, why is it wrong? And maybe you're out by an hour. It's a common problem around this time of year. Or maybe you logged them twice and you've forgotten to log the one where you actually worked them. Something like that can happen. But basically, you will not get past ordering a QSL if you haven't got a completely perfect match within 15 minutes. So we've eliminated a common source of grief for a DX manager, which is not in log problems. So you click checkout. You can put a donation on. You can give them your locator. This is actually Clublog's mining your locator, because we would like to know, to help propagation studies that we do, exactly where your station is. So you're helping Clublog by doing that. And then you can click finalize QSL request. You'll see this, because we're about to leave Clublog and go to PayPal at this point to pay. And the important point here is that the money that you send will go directly to the DX station. It doesn't come through Clublog. We are not a bank. PayPal is the payment gateway, and all of the funds go directly to the DX station. Okay, so you go in. On the left-hand side, I appreciate this is a bit small now, so when we get a live site going, I can go over this again. But on the left-hand side, the way we do it is that we treat each of your QSOs as if it's a product in your basket. So that individual QSOs go into the basket, and then you get your price and you can pay, and you're making sure that you get the right delivery address here so that the cards will come back to you at that address. Very easy for us in the UK. Sometimes it's a bit of an issue with Japanese users and other non-Western character sets. So they have to know that that's the address that their card will go to. When you place your order, you get a confirmation here. And just so that you know, there are actually two places that your OQRS order can be checked. One of them is that you can go into PayPal again at any time and look for the transaction. And it will list everything that you ordered, and it will give you a reference number. And the reference number is something that you can use in Clublog to go and find that transaction again later. So if you've got that situation where you've only got the receipt from PayPal, you can still find it. And you get an email from Clublog over here. Sorry, this one is from PayPal, but you get one from Clublog too, so 3 emails, which tells you that you've done an order and gives you an invoice ID. Quite recently, we added this feature where you can go searching for your outbound OQRSs, and you can check with any of the reference numbers, so the PayPal reference number, or the Clublog reference number, or just the DX call sign. You can just type it in, and it will show you whether or not that's on file, which it always will be. And you can go and study the details of what you requested. And Clublog is indicating here, these were ordered through OQRS and should be confirmed. And they will change to confirmed as long as I change my log to say that I received the card. So we can't know when a piece of paper comes through your letterbox. But if you update your log to say QSL received, and then upload that log again at some stage, then all of this turns to the green C for confirmed. So that's the outbound side of the transaction, really. And I think you've probably all seen it. The big question is, how is this all dealt with by the QSL manager? The objective really is that we want to make it as time and motion efficient as possible because of this incredible imbalance in the number of cards that are flowing inbound to the QSL manager. And for this reason, there's actually a very specific set of tools which have been optimized just for the problem of dealing with huge stacks of cards or huge lists of emails coming in. So the things that we've done to help the QSL manager are, first of all, eliminate all the bad QSL requests. You can't get a bad QSL request through the system, so all of the QSL requests are certified as existing QSOs that matched. Secondly, we've solved the thousands of $1 bills problem because by involving PayPal, the money is cleared directly into the banks. Although PayPal take their costs off that, it's still much more efficient overall. And it also means that if you're not in America, you can settle the money down into pounds or Japanese yen, Australian dollars, etc., which is a big advantage if you're just trying to use the money to buy the QSL stamps. The next thing is we do printing from Clublog. Now obviously there isn't a long wire back to your printer, so we provide PDFs that you can print out. But those PDFs are designed to help you print the labels for the cards and the envelopes. And by doing that, we simplify the whole process of having many piles of other people's envelopes with their handwritten or even kanji characters on them that you don't recognize later. So we're taking away a sorting problem of multiple piles of cards. More recently, there's functionality to deal with paper QSLs that still arrive, because not everything comes to you via OQRS. Some things still come to you via the Bureau as paper cards. And the occasional shortwave listener or SWL card, which needs special handling in order to respond. There is one other efficiency here, which is when you're sending cards outbound through the Bureau needs you to put them in country piles. You can't just blend them all together and print them in the order you get them, because that's a nightmare for the bureaus. They need to be separated before they're sent onwards. So all the German cards go together, all the American cards go together, that kind of thing. So we help you by ordering the bureau printing by country. Okay, so I was putting this together and I thought, right, I'll just do lots of screenshots of how this works. And I realized just exactly how complicated it all looks at a first glance. This is, with that in mind, I spoke to Nigel, who's currently in the middle of doing QSLing for E6GG. And I asked him whether I might be able to just log in and use his account. He was happy that I would do that. So I'm now going to come out of PowerPoint, log you into E6GG, and give you a quick tour of what it looks like if you're on the receiving end. Okay. I hope the Wi-Fi is good enough for this. I know it's busy. Okay. That's interesting. Ah, wow. That's cool. So I can't, weird, I can't see it on my screen, I can only see it on here. This is the view that you get when you log in to the QSL management tools. This is E6GG's inbound QSL queues. Now I'm going to point out a few things. I might just make it a bit bigger for you as well. Can we do that? Yeah. This display mirroring is not very convenient. Oh. I think I'll stick with that if you don't mind. I'll draw your attention over here first of all, this box here. There are separate queues for the different ways that the cards arrived. Okay, so OQRS means it went through the PayPal system, but there are actually two possible options there. One of them is that they're ordering a bureau card, and one of them is that they're ordering a direct card. So we have separate queues for those two things. You can see here that there are 2,600 direct QSLs ordered, and there are 1,977 bureau cards ordered. Underneath this, there's another line here which says bureau and direct, but these are not OQRS. So this is as if you've gone up to the bureau and put your card into E6GG and it's arrived in Nigel's inbox and he's picked it up. And I'll show you how you deal with that in a moment. But basically, all of this is queued up separately. Now down here, this is a rolling list of the most recent inbound QSL requests that have come in. And probably during this talk, one or two will arrive because it's very busy at the moment. What you've got on the left-hand side, sit down, is a visual representation of a sheet of labels. And what we do with this is we take the QSLs from the right-hand side, and you can either just drag them across like this. So the left-hand label there has 4 JH1LPZ QSOs on it, so this is details for the card, and the right-hand one has his address on it. And if you like, you can arrange everything manually just by dragging things across, so you put them wherever you want. Now, if you're dealing with a large queue like this, there's a much quicker way, which is to maybe select some QSOs like this instead, and then go autofill, and it will put them on the label sheet for you in a logical order. And a lot of thought's been put into making it easy for you to go stick, 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 address, address, QSO, QSO. That kind of ordering makes a huge difference when you're the guy pulling the sheets off. There's also the option here to take literally everything on the queue and also fill it, and basically then go on and print, which in this case is 1,000 labels. And this will produce a PDF, and I can actually do that right now. So Clublog will go off and create, it'll probably take 15 seconds or so for this kind of work, a huge PDF file which you could print out if you send it to your printer with the labels fed into the paper feed. Here we go. And here it comes. So that's the sort of thing that hopefully you're familiar with, seeing on the back of labels. And we can play with this and not commit to doing it. I can cancel that, and I can say in here, no, don't take them off the queue. I'm going to be very careful here because this is not printed yet. Now, the point of all of that is to really reduce down the amount of work that's involved in dealing with this queue. You can see here that Nigel doesn't need to even look at who isn't actually making the request. We're really just dealing with a large list of self-similar things, and as long as you print them all and you don't stick QSL addresses, QSL stickers to envelopes, then basically at the end of the day you'll have a huge pile of envelopes which just need stamps, and you're done. By marking them as complete on the queue, you of course have avoided the problem of sending them twice or forgetting anybody. And if somebody impatiently emails you saying, hey, where's my card? I thought you sent them the same day, then you can go in and search, and you can possibly case sensitive, I'm not sure. Let's just try that again. I think I might have been removed from the queue already, having been processed.
Not in the log.
Okay, calm. The other thing that we've got here is the ability to export the activity that we've done into ADIF. And this might be important because if you're maintaining a DX log, then you want to be able to reflect the fact that QSLs are being sent. So ADIF does work both ways. It's not just for logging QSOs, it's also for changing the status of QSOs from not QSL to QSL, and there's fields for that, so we've supported that too. Now, the other thing to point out here is that when you get this sheet of stickers, you can actually choose which kind of sticker sheet you want to use. In the bad old days, you'd have to go and buy very expensive sheets of labels from Avery, and they would be particularly finessed for use in laser printers and that kind of thing. But these days, if you stroll into Tesco, you'll find something that looks very much the same and costs a tenth of the amount. And what you can do there is go into the label settings, and you can choose from a crowdsourced list of label sheets which one is yours. So people very carefully set up these things. You need to be about 1 millimeter accurate to get them to line up correctly. People go through and do that, and then they upload them to Clublog, which is rather nice. And we can pick anybody else's label sheet definition and use it just by moving across and picking out of this list. Further down this same page, you can actually, let's go down a little here. This looks very messy, but you'll see why it has to be this way, because these things are, they vary from one label to the next. In here we have a long list of possible fields that you could include on a label. The obvious ones are things like his call, the band, the mode, the time. They're all in here. And so you can type in what you want to see on the first line, the QSO line, and the last line of each label. And you can customize it to say whatever you want. And you can also change the font and that kind of thing if you need to. So when you go down to the end of the page here, you see that what it comes out as is like this. Now I can demonstrate what it might do if I say, well, what if I put something like here, very best wishes V73, and if I look at the, it's there, okay? Now you can also just, I know it's not valid, but you could do things like put the island name or whatever if you wanted to. So these labels can be customized to suit whatever the real situation is for your QSL. You can change the date time format, and that's down here. Number of QSOs per label. If you allow the font to get smaller and smaller, you can print more and more QSLs on each card. And obviously by doing so, you save the number of cards in total that you end up using. So it's a slightly, you've got to be careful not to print too small, basically. So there we go, and there's an emulation of what the sheet of stickers for the SP5APW printout would look like. Right. And then up here we've got non-OQRS management. And in these ones, this is where someone's handed you a card at the convention or someone sent it to you in the bureau. And you can say, well, okay, right, so you pick up the card. Let's go G3ZAY and look him up. And he's certainly in the log. And some. Good going. And what you do here is you choose, well, what do I want to do with each of these cards? The default, because this is the most common thing, is that you've received it via the bureau and you're going to send it via the bureau. And by validating these, basically, you can put them onto the queue, but you have to validate it because you're the only one with a pair of eyes that can read the card at this moment. So you go through accepting them all. And as soon as you've done that, and again, I'm not going to click this because this is not my job, but if I was to click the big green bar across there that says mark all 7 QSOs with the default action, then essentially I've picked up the card, gone, yep, put it down, possibly straight to the shredder, and click all 7 QSOs and we're done. Later on, when we get round to actually printing bureau cards, they come off the queue and go into the right country pile because of the print queue system. So it's not that much more effort to handle an incoming bureau card. The worst case would still be receiving a direct card, because you do still then have to handle the dollars and the envelopes. And the queue on here, although it will help you print those cards, won't help you get them back in the right envelopes anymore. Arguably, you may end up throwing away their envelope because you don't want it. Okay, so those are the features. I hope that you can see that although there is an awful lot going on here, the overall study of how long it would take you to deal with your cards now is much reduced, and you don't have to spend a long time dealing with all of the physical logistics. All you have to do is get a good printer, lots of label sheets, and plenty of stamps, which you can buy because all of this cash is now in your bank account and not in a stack of ones. Okay, I'm going to go back to the slides.
Michael, can I just ask a question there, please?
Of course you can, yep.
So, if you're doing a print run, you've got 2,000 cards to print out, and your printer jams up or needs some ink,
Yeah.
can you go back to the exact place where you need to?
Yeah.
You might have printed a couple of sheets that are absolutely useless.
Yeah, I think, Maris, is nodding. We can look at exactly how you do that as well.
Okay.
There's sort of the global, no, it didn't print correctly, but there's also the ability to manually mark things as printed even if you didn't actually go through the whole thing again.
Yeah.
So yes, you can.
Okay.
Because it does happen, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. A lot.
Yeah. Tim would know.
Yep. A few months after the expedition, maybe I got 3 OQRS direct requests and 3 OQRS bureau requests. At the moment, I print out one from one queue, and then restart the other queue.
Yeah.
And my little yellow autofill start isn't always in the right place. I can't work out how to drag that. Can I merge the queues, or can I drag the yellow autofill so that after I've used a sheet and I've used the first 4 labels of it, I want to put it through again. It'll go through 2 or 3 times before it gets too curly. Can I move the autofill start and then repopulate that same sheet, as it were, to start further down?
Yeah, not with autofill, but you can drag these. Maris, if you want to.
I think you try all. You know, there's an all queue.
I tried this during the week, Michael, and it didn't work for me.
Oh, okay. So if you're managing the all queue, I think the message here is that you're blending across different outbound channels now. You've got some bureau, some direct. It does say which they are, but
okay. So I'm going to go with the all queue.
I suspect that's the way. Yeah. Particularly if they're loose ends. I mean, this. With 4,000, you're not going to. It's too soon to start that. It is a problem because people do tend to send bureau cards and then get impatient, then send direct cards. By the time they've all come in, you're getting quite ratty with them. Clublog does what it can about that. So if you've requested a card already via the bureau, via direct, it will not let you order a bureau card at that point because we feel that there's just no justified reason for that. So we're trying to push those problems as much as we can. Obviously, there's still the paper way. Are there any other questions about this, actually? Because it's probably easier to handle all at once.
Just to be clear, you can't drag the yellow label to a new starting position on the sheet.
Well, you can drag. Hi, I'm Maris, 5B4WN. You can drag any, the first label, you can put it in any position, and the yellow label moves to that position.
Ah,
that makes sense.
Right, yep.
Okay.
Can I just make a comment about reprinting? The reprinting problem is not a Clublog problem because you're printing from a PDF file that you've downloaded to your machine. So if you have a print failure or it doesn't line up, it's just trying to reprint a page from a PDF that's on your machine.
Yeah, I think you are occasionally going to end up wasting half a sheet. That's inevitable, I think.
That's it.
Yeah. The worst one is if you've got a sheet with some labels missing and you laser print onto the wax, It's really, really bad for your printer. Okay, I'm trying to get my slides back on the screen for you, but my pointer is hiding. Here we go. Couple of points, loose ends. You don't need to register with PayPal to make a QSL request this way, but you wouldn't believe it if you try. PayPal are very keen for everybody to register, and if you're opposed to that, then that's fine. You can still do it. You just have to look for the hidden buttons at each stage of the checkout in PayPal. Secondly, no, this isn't a free ride because PayPal takes a slice of the money that you send to the DX. And although we've looked at this, there isn't actually a micropayment service except Bitcoin, which can do that and not take a pretty significant slice. It's still cheaper than doing a two-way QSL, and that's, I think, good enough for now. We'll keep an eye on this. Next one is a sort of rhetorical question. I had a quick check last night. 1.6 million QSOs confirmed so far by this method. So how much have we saved? I mean, you could be a little bit exaggerating and say, well, what if every single one of those was a single QSO? In that case, probably $4 million. That's not the case, of course. Maybe 4 or 5 QSOs per label, that kind of thing happens. So, but it's still getting on for $1 million probably. That's money that's stayed in the hobby and could be given to the expeditions or used, frankly, for any other purpose. So we're pleased with this, and I think that's probably why this is so popular, of course. Indiscriminate QSLing. Clublog has made it very easy to order bureau cards in particular because it filled in all the QSO details for you. So instead of having to methodically scroll them out on your card and put them in a bureau, now you just go on the website, click checkout, and it's done. And for reasons of ethics, we've made it free. The problem here is that if we allow this to get out of control, then bureau cards will eventually not be free because this problem will grow and grow until someone stamps on it. So I think that there's a problem of abuse that could grow. So far, we've tried to prevent it from growing by making it less convenient. And we actually have quite a few ideas that will make it less convenient again if you really don't need the slot confirming and you're asking for a bureau card. So there's always a sort of pushback from Marius and I about that problem. The last point there is that the top 30 expeditions, top 30 most wanted entities, the mega expeditions as they will be, are allowed to charge $1 for a bureau request. And it's a fixed amount. They can either charge it or not, and it doesn't vary according to how many cards or anything else. And I find it very interesting and quite encouraging that to date none of them have chosen to do that. And that's because they share the view that the bureau is a tradition. But I have to say I do think that this will change. We'll see.
Michael, can I just say that the question of how much PayPal actually takes, you haven't actually looked at it. $2 gives about £1.03. So for people who just occasionally say somebody's ripping somebody off and getting lots of money, the answer isn't.
Yeah.
The stamp is £1. So $2 not getting a lot.
On that point as well, if you're receiving dollars but you want pounds, change the currency to pounds, and you will get more like £1.40 or so.
£1.70.
£1.70, right, great, so much better, yeah. PayPal's currency exchange rates are dreadful, and that's the problem. The other thing is that at the moment, you can't use Clublog to just buy a credit for an award scheme like Logbook of the World. And this means that you can't say just check out for LOTW and pay $1. People do occasionally ask for that, actually on both sides, not just the expeditions, but the X's too say, look, I'd rather they just had the money and I had the credit in logbooks. To be honest, it's a minefield. The expeditions do this anyway. They're entitled to interpret the purpose of a donation. And the question does arise, should it be a feature? Wouldn't it save them money if they didn't send you a card you don't want, the ultimate? Or is that just charging? And since this is a toxic debate, I'll move on. We've got 3 things in progress which I'd like to just tell you briefly about. One of them is the World QSL Archive. This is a scanning project, and at the moment it's based around Nigel G3TXF's very extensive paper QSL archive. He's bought a scanner and a certain amount of manual labour with it, and scanned his collection, all of it more or less. He's making very, very good progress. We're getting on for about 1 terabyte of data in the system now. And The idea is that you'll be able to look up the call sign and see both sides of the QSL card, and for just historical interest as much as anything. And we may crowdsource the identification of certain tricky cards by making people do this work as part of requesting free bureau cards. I think that's a perfectly good balance. But basically that's coming. It's really exciting, and if you do see Nigel around and you ask after it, he'll tell you all about how fantastic it is and everything else, but not forgetting the amount of work that went into producing such an enormous archive of scans. Second on the list, OQRS pre-donation systems. The expeditions are always appealing for more help and more tools to do that. And essentially, when someone does donate in advance to an expedition, that has a disproportionately positive benefit to them compared to money afterwards. And so they want to encourage it. Clublog will soon have a system to let you send them money in advance, and it will automatically log and file, but you don't need to pay again for your QSL requests. So you'll be able to go to the OQRS checkout, and it will all go through as normal, but the sum will be zero, and it will thank you again and refer back to the fact that you've already donated. And that will be seen on the VP8 expeditions that are coming up. And the last one, and this is a plug for a talk tomorrow, Clublog is capable of log matching, okay? So just as Logbook of the World does, we know when two logs agree, and we make that data available via a very lightweight and efficient interface. And it's being used by the Wireless Institute of Australia, DARC, and a few others as well. But most notable, it will soon be available as part of IOTA, which solves a big wish list that I know that many IOTA users would like to have electronic confirmations. So please come to the lecture tomorrow morning, lecture room 5, 9:30, to see exactly how that works. It is basically ready, and it's really good. Okay, I think that is it. And I will take any questions. Or any other questions?
From the other side, I've looked at the QSL listing and then looked for the entities I need. Where I might have more than one QSO matched, when I actually go through to the OQRS, they might have some of them missing, but all of my contacts at the QSL list say matched. Is that just picking up one and it matches them all?
The matching system is actually a slightly technical question. Matching happens at the moment that you upload, and unfortunately there are cases where the DX will then clear their log and upload something else later. And by doing that, they remove the possibility of it being used as OQRS match again. The match that you got in the first case was at the moment you both had the logs in the system.
Right.
I'm interested in whether or not that should be a valid QSL request anyway, because it obviously is.
Yeah,
they did match.
Obviously, as you said,
Yeah.
you can't then click on it and request it.
It's quite rare, and there's just one or two call signs that have done that, and I've sent them an email about it, pleading with them not to delete their logs like that. So it's their log though.
Yeah, of course.
John.
Slightly silly question, Michael, but how can you or we help to persuade the expeditions who currently don't use Clublog to actually do so? And there's certain parts of the world which will remain nameless who don't do it.
I think there's a problem in Japan with PayPal, but the argument should be persuasive enough. If they're swamped with cards, the answer is staring them in the face. You know? There's only a few special individuals who really like dealing with the paper mountain.
Yeah, but some have their own systems.
They do, and time will tell. I don't really mind because this is available, and those systems also work. They usually have the disadvantage that you have to type in the details for your logs. And there are other reasons too. Tim is just behind you, and he has a particularly good reason why he can't use Clublog. And that is that he's managing multiple calls and would like a single checkout for all of your requests to come to him in one payment. And we can't do that. So there are cases, really busy QSL managers have got a bit of a challenge there. Your hand's gone down again, Tim, is that
That
all right?
was exactly the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, okay.
We will do in future though.
Yeah, we're trying. Yeah, Ken.
When you make a donation,
Mhm.
does PayPal take a chunk of that?
Absolutely.
PayPal will take a chunk of anything.
Anything, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Chip on the side of the bag.
Are the charges related to per QSO mode bound, or if we've made a possible swap?
They can be. It's configurable. The DX station can choose what they charge, per card or per QSO, that kind of logic. And normally it's the better ones will be a fixed fee and that's it. No, say so.
Yeah, I just want to make a small comment. PayPal would not charge you, would not charge the addressee the amount of money that the fee that they charge. Will charge you the fee, and it would be a very, very, very tiny fraction of the fee that is charged to the addressee. If you don't do this as a commercial activity, which this is, money sent for services, but money sent to friends and relatives. I've tried to do that, and there are very few people who actually do that. I think probably about maybe 20 out of 1,000 people who request cards do it that way, and it's obviously worth for.
This idea of gifting money through PayPal, where there are no fees, unfortunately, PayPal won't let you use a basket mechanism to do that. And we rely on that in order to create these orders, so we can't use it. And obviously we couldn't use it, we would soon be asked not to. Rag, you had a question?
Yes. I remember early days, you asked for a financial support to run this thing.
Yeah.
And I gave you, I made a donation, and you said thank you for that. What's the situation today? Is it a financial burden for you to do this?
No, it's not actually. Really, there is a large sort of global audience using Clublog, 46,000 users. Their burden on the system increases, and perhaps a little bit on the time as well. But so does their donations. And actually, overall, everything's fine. Donations cover the cost of the system and give us a little bit extra, so that when we need to, we can buy a server instantly to grow or to back something up differently or whatever it is. So thank you again. We would have to stop and think again if we couldn't rely on that system, but it works perfect.
Super.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Gordon.
Michael, first of all, thank you very much indeed for adding IOTA to Clublog. That will really save a lot of time and effort for a lot of people, and money too. Some of us, even me, do not yet log electronically.
Right.
Will you provide some form of minor data input, so that, for example, I can upload one or two QS, basically logging lines, which could be used within the system to match?
Yeah, if you're not in Clublog as a user, you just get to type them in.
Right.
So it's just exactly how you expect. It's already supported. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
On a donation, do you get more in your pocket if a donation is made once or on a monthly basis because of the charging?
I think it's basically the same. With possibly the smaller transactions, the percentage appears higher because there's a fixed cost and then there's a percentage.
So which is better for you?
The best is to receive money in pounds.
Right.
That's,
I'm talking about.
That's the biggest difference.
How much do you get? Do you because of the little charges?
Right.
Is it better that it's made as one fee for the year or each month?
No, one is better.
Okay.
In his hand is better still.
Actually, our accounts are public, and if you want to know what's in there, then I'll show you. Can I wrap up with just one more slide? I've had a lot of recognition for Clublog, and not all of it should be due to me. Marios is in the room, so I'm sorry this is a bit invidious. But it is a team, and there are one or two people who contribute an awful lot to it, and one of them who's very quiet and keeps out of the public view is Marios. Oh, yes, and please could you stand up, Marios? I think it goes without saying that OQRS is an awesome addition to Clublog and also to DXing. And it was not trivial. If you can imagine starting with a blank sheet of paper thinking, how will we get the money to someone in VK when they're in America? And how will we make sure that the card really arrives? And what about this is just the detail. So thank you very much, Marios, for doing that, despite your professional life as a surgeon, okay? So this is not simple. And that is the end of the talk. Thank you for your time, for your support, and also, if I may, just to E6GG for the QSOs, which were real rank, and for the use of their account today, which I haven't ruined, so I'm happy about that.
That's great. Well, many thanks, Mike. Number that you mentioned just now, $4 million saved by Clublog in terms of the QSLing costs. So that's an amazing number. really staggered me when I heard it, but it sounds very plausible. And if I save that much money, then I should be even more inclined to donate generously to Clublog as well. So also feel free to go online and click that donate button. So thanks for coming, and I'm sure if we all join once again, thank Mike and also Marius for their work.